and welcome to today's episode of LinkedIn with Louise. Today, I have a wonderful guest with me called Lynn Whitbeck. Lynn is the founder and CEO of Petite to Queen and Future Forward Sales, and we're going to talk about LinkedIn and sales, and it's going to be really fun. But before we do, I would like to hear a little bit about Lynn and her background, and I'm sure you would as well. Lynn is another author. I love having authors on my podcast. So Lynn is the co-author of a book called Practical Wisdoms at Work, a quick read guide with insights to navigate situations, challenges, and opportunities that arise every day in business. Ooh, I love it. All right. So, and Lynn's actually been on lots and lots and lots of media, which we could also ask her about as well. So Lynn, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, it's so glad to be here, Louise. I'm really excited about our chat today.
Excellent. So let's dive in, Lynn. First of all, tell me how you got started, really how you got started in your whole business, because before you started this business, you worked in corporate, didn't you?
Yeah. I started my career in sales. Mm-hmm. There's a story there. I climbed the corporate ladder and I made it to the executive and then the C-suite. And it was because everything I learned in sales was leadership, leadership skills. And I was a sales champion. I closed multi-million-dollar global deals. I was flying literally all over the world. Wow. And so that, led me into this incredible career. And I think sales was such a good fit for me because I love to be of service. And when you're in sales, that's what you're doing. You're helping other people. And it just spoke right to my core values of who I am. And, I carried that with me through the other, as I, like I said, moved into executive roles and positions. Because if you can't sell something, you can't keep the lights on.
Yes, exactly.
So that was sort of that part. And then I pivoted to start my own business. And that really occurred when, so I had three things really happening at the same time. I had been COO of a startup that was not going to make it. I could see the writing on the wall.
Okay.
And my husband was diagnosed with terminal cancer.
Oh, dear. And
I had my two nieces and my daughter who are all in graduate school, college, and, the senior high school. And so those three things sort of converged together for me to sort of say, what do I want to do moving forward, with my career?
Yeah.
Because I could certainly have gone into another, lots of choices out there, but I thought, I really want to help women. I'm sick and tired of every generation of women having to plow the same road. In the sense that, yes, we keep paving it and it's getting, better, but we all have to learn a lot of things that we just don't know how to deal with because we're socialized to stay quiet, sit in the back seat and be polite. And so when we're on the job for the first time, these are skills that are not taught to us. We have to learn them on the job, how to deal with difficult people, how to flex our styles, how to mitigate a situation, how to negotiate, think on our feet, how to, really enhance our own personal brand. And there's so many things that it's like, why? That was my question to myself. So I started Petite to Queen and to answer all those questions.
Yes.
And then from that, because I was still continuing to do sales. Over the years, I've had a lot of great relationships. I'd get a phone call. We need help with this. And so I was doing the sales and providing strategic sales training and sales plans, working on very specific aspects of their sales. And so through that, I developed our up-level sales program, which is a training program, which has been really well received. It's been phenomenally successful, which is great. But it doesn't matter if it's a really advanced sales group they're veterans and they've been out there, or it's a bunch of newbies or the mix, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Because everybody gets something really powerful out of it. And organizations see that after the third session, and these are live sessions with incredible materials and support, that they see an uptick in their sales and performance after the third session. And what they find is that it's sustainable long-term. And it's that because of the way that we do it, from all my years, I've really learned, presenting at conferences, doing all the things of what really helps with retention, and how can you start applying this today? And how can you learn this and get these really important skills that you can either enhance or develop without it really impacting that you can't do your job, right? Because sometimes these things, and when you do these sales training, it's like in one day, this intense day. Well, it's just like you get through that, but then you're back to your regular job. And so our process is quite different because we do it every week for 12 weeks.
Yeah.
And then there's assignments, essentially materials that they need to do in the interim. And through that, the retention just goes way up. And the other thing is that people start applying what they learned immediately.
Yes.
And that we do that because it's live training. We'll take a topic that they have, like they'll say, we're struggling with ghosting right now.
Yeah.
And of course you get ghosted on LinkedIn, right? How do I break through? What do I do? And so then we start talking about that and what they're doing now, and so it's just live right there and then. So it's, it's been amazing. And I love doing it because when you have a product or service that helps others, and this can help a company or an organization, just be more streamlined, be more effective, be able to better serve their customers. That's a gift, and that's important to get out there. So I love supporting these organizations, the businesses, the founders, the owners, the partners, so that they can really get their product or service out more effectively and make a difference.
So I have lots of questions, but I have a question. I'm just thinking about I love how your sales program is 12 weeks. And I'm wondering, so I am a one-woman band and I have a support team. Obviously, I've got my editor, my assistant, my copywriter and everybody who are wonderful if they're listening in, and they always are because they help me with the podcast. But I teach people how to use LinkedIn, obviously, and I teach individuals, and I also work with companies. And some companies will say, okay, Louise, we want to have a couple of workshops, and then can you go off and work with the sales manager? And I know from working with my individuals that if they, for example, buy into my group program, which is called LinkedIn Learners Lab, the way I originally set it up was a 6-week program, and we went through the training together, and they checked in with me every week. So I knew they were watching the training, and then because they asked the questions relating to that training. But recently, what way it's worked is people have signed up to it, and then they come to my calls twice a month. And I'm not sure. Well, I am sure. A lot of people just aren't going and watching the actual training. So I love that you've created a program where you're doing the work with them every single week, and that's how you're seeing the progress. And it's making me think, like on the hop here, that actually sometimes the group program is better to be run 6 weeks at a time, because then at least everyone's moving forward together.
Yeah. It's that one-on-one that your retention just zooms up as we're on a Zoom call. And there's all kinds of statistics that back that up. That if you are doing like the videos, your retention, because it's so easy to get distracted. And literally, I've done this. I have the video going and I'm doing something else.
Oh,
I'm multitasking.
100%.
And so then, what do you really get out of it? I'd had to go like, wait a minute, he just said something that was important. And I end up rewatching. It's just, oh my gosh. And so, and the thing is, you can't answer the question live in that moment. No. Like, whoa, wait a minute. You just said something and I want to ask this question.
Yes.
So that happened in one of my sessions yesterday with a client, and they had a specific topic and they said, well, this is what we're struggling with. Yeah. And that was, so we were actually talking about negotiation. That's one of our sessions. Yeah. And this is what's happening, and so we started talking about that. And I said, I'm going to need to think about this for 24 hours. And then I'm going to get back to you in our Slack channel so that you know how I think you should approach this.
Yeah.
So I went back. I've already looked at the transcript. I'm actually going to rewatch the video with the question because we record every session and we create an AI transcript. So that's another thing. If for some reason one of their team members misses a training, because this is company specific.
Yes.
Then they can go and watch that training video, go through the transcript. And it's all the time. What you said in the transcript, is this what you said? I watched the video again. And I did that for one client on the fly, created a value statement for them. And they're going like, oh, that was like, we wouldn't use this. Is this it? I'm like, yeah. That was it. That's great. I love it. I'm glad that that it was helpful and useful. But those are those moments that really matter. And we did go through that process of having courses on Teachable. We still have one course up, and we've moved that also over to Udemy. But it's just it doesn't have the same impact.
Right? Doing it live. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I love the fact with LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is such an important part when you're planning your communication and your outreach, and also for follow-up, all those things to help move the sales process forward. And I know that what I've done for my clients is I've created a LinkedIn sales cadence. At some point, you and I need to get offline and I'll show it to you and get your input on it. But it's like how to build value and build a relationship all the way through so that, and then you move them into, because what happens? Oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, but all the time on LinkedIn is people make the connection and then they go right to the pitch. Yes. And it's like, really? Are you kidding me?
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know you. I don't know anything about you.
Yeah.
And it's like, And so the people that I've responded to have done exactly, they've built the relationship.
Yes.
They've provided value.
Yeah.
They're making it real. It's not robotized. That's the other thing. You can always tell.
The automated messages.
Yes, I respond to every LinkedIn message. Now, I have templates. That's part of a communication and outreach plan. I have templates that I've created, but I customize each one. But it gets me a really quick, copy and paste. Then I customize it and I send it to them. But I can always tell when I get the robo response because I ask a question.
It's like,
ding, you're gone, you're done. Yes. And then there's others that you build that relationship with. Yeah. And you start having a real conversation.
Yeah.
And that leads somewhere.
I know. The funny thing that happened recently with me, and I think I talked about this to my group, I don't think I talked about it in the podcast, was that somebody quite well-known had sent me a message, and I was really flattered and replied. And the message that came back, I was just really disappointed because it was obviously computerized because it had got nothing to do with what I had responded with. And it just puts you off people.
Yeah. It really does. And
so disappointing.
And of course you can train, assistants, et cetera, to respond in a certain way. Yeah. Absolutely. But, and I understand that, but if you, and I'm not perfect. I am not on LinkedIn every day. I'm really busy. We have limited space in our programs, and it's like I'm just like really busy. Yeah. And then I get these special things like a request to help out with something. Yeah. Through the course of a program. Anyway, but I still try to be on LinkedIn at least a couple times a week. And then I'll go through all those messages. And I do have an assistant, more than assistant, who is, it's really it's our social director, who's amazing, our content director. Uh-huh. And she posts for me. She, does a lot of that work. Yeah. She has a really great formula to make sure that, in fact, my whole team, after you were on our podcast, we went through and I got your LinkedIn guide and I said everybody read it.
Excellent.
Yeah. Because, those are just some of the things. Another thing is keeping your